Hey guys, what's up? I have a deck profile I am pretty excited to show off today. This is, I guess you could call it my Salvo Machina hand control deck, basically using Black Salvo in conjunction with Machinas. Heavily inspired by the list that was doing well recently using Machina and Black Salvo and like Cannon Soldier, and combining that with an idea that I saw in the Black Salvo Edison Discord to use like Power Tool Dragon and Smoke Grenade to control your opponent's hand. So it's basically marrying those two ideas because I think they have a lot of synergy, and this deck has been a lot of fun so far. I've been tweaking the list because the ratios are very sensitive. I think the list is at 42 cards right now. For a deck like this, where you're running a lot of cards in threes, like the important cards, and you're running some bricks, I think it's totally fine to go over 42. I think you should really just experiment with whatever ratios feel right for you, especially in a deck where you're maybe not running too many one of power cards. I think it's totally fine to go over 40 and not worry about the consistency hit too much. So let's get into the profile. First off, you have triple Machina Fortress, triple Machina Gear Frame, and the one Machina Force. Standard lineup. You could run double Force, but I just don't really want to brick on it, and one seems to be enough for now. Any list that you put this package in is already going to be like tier 2 at worst. So this definitely does do a lot of the heavy lifting for sure by its own, on its own. But we do have the Salvo package on top of that. I am running the triple Black Salvo. In this deck, you want to see this as soon as possible, and you're running a lot of cards to make this live. Here are the targets. You got your double Mechanical Chaser, double Cyber Raider, and a Dekoichi. So that is 5 targets, and you have some other ways to get these into the graveyard. Mechanical Chaser is just an 1850 body, which is obviously a very relevant stat line because it gets over a lot of the meta cards like Shura, Gear Frame, Stratos, stuff like that. And then you have your one Dekoichi. This is nice if you see it early. You could play multiples if you want. I just don't like drawing multiples of this because it's like very slow. And if you see this mid game, it's like kind of mid, but you could definitely bump this up to 2 if you want. And then you have your Cyber Raider, and I'll explain why this is very important later, but essentially it is a dark level 4 machine, which is the criteria for Black Salvo, and it has the effect of whenever it's summoned, whether it is special or normal summoned, you get to choose one of 2 effects. You can either pop and equip spell card on the field, or switch the target of an equipped spell card on the field, and we'll see in a little bit why that's relevant. But you're basically going to be wanting to go into level 7, which often is going to be Power Tool Dragon, and I'll show why it's important in a bit. Carrying on, we got the double Gear Freed. Again, this is gonna leverage Smoke Grenade, which I'll show and explain in a bit. But this is here because of the hand control aspect of the deck. It's got pretty good stats, like 1800 attack, 1600 defense. That's why this is here. I don't think 3 is necessary. In fact, I think it's a little bit bricky. You have a lot of normal summons in the deck already, so that's why it's at 2. Some of the boss monsters, you got Gores, Trag, and Dark Armed. Dark Armed is very easy to summon in this deck because you are running an Armageddon Knight package right here. Between the Salvo, you summon Salvo, make 1 level 7, and then you just normal summon Armor Knight, and this Dark Armed Dragon is live. And I'll explain some other, cute things that you could do with Dark Armed Dragon in this deck specifically. Armageddon Knight, it's in here because you can dump the targets for Salvo. It's just a really nice card, maybe going second into a T set, because you can just summon it, set up your follow-up plays, and not really worry about crashing to a Raikou. And then also I'm running a Rhoda in the deck, so I wanted another warrior target other than just the Gear Freed, just to give a little bit of versatility. And this deck is also playing Allure, so the higher dark count as well as the dark that's searchable via Rhoda is pretty relevant. And then you're running a lot of level 4s in this deck, so Plague Spreader can be good for that context. And then finally, to round out the monster lineup, you have one Breaker, one Card Trooper. I'll explain why Breaker is useful in this deck in a bit, but Card Trooper, you know, just another good machine, normal summon. This deck has a lot of cards that you want to hit the graveyard, so that's why you're running it. I mean, you've got basically the Plague and all of the Salvo targets, and then also it can be good to mill Machina Fortress because you can bring it back with Machina Force. Okay, so moving into the spells. This is the main reason that you're playing this deck. You're running triple Smoke Grenade and triple Big Bang Shot. This is a lot of bricks, that's why you're playing over 42. But like I said, you can make Power Tool Dragon very easy in this deck, and Power Tool Dragon can search out any of these cards. I'm running 3 and 3 because I want to be able to choose which one I am searching for with Power Tool Dragon, so it's important to have 3 copies of the card in the deck. You could cut this down to 5 total. I find that when I do that, there's times where I'm making Power Tool Dragon and I have no more cards to search in the deck because you need at least 3. So if you run 5 and then open up, you know, 1, you can search 2. That's pretty good, but I've been finding myself wanting the 6th copy. So if you don't know what these cards do, Smoke Grenade basically says when it's destroyed while it's equipped to a monster on the field, it doesn't need to be your monster, it can be your opponent's. You get to look at your opponent's hand and discard any card that you want. So this is a very powerful card. It's been around for quite some time. It's actually used in GOAT format, not really competitively. But the idea behind, so that's Smoke Grenade. It has like a hand control aspect. Big Bang Shot, what it does is it boosts a monster's attack by 400 and it gets piercing damage. And then if it's removed from the field, whether it's destroyed or like bounced back to the hand or something, that monster gets removed from play. So it's a little bit versatile in that you can go aggro with it, but a lot of the times you're going to be using it as 1-for-1 removal to banish your opponent's monster by equipping to their monster and destroying it. So the synergy comes into play with these cards. These are the main monsters that have synergy with this, and then even Dark Armed. Gearfried, if you don't know what this does, it's a very old card, but basically any equipped card that gets equipped to it is automatically destroyed on the spot. So if you equip Smoke Grenade to this card, it's automatically gonna get destroyed, and you get to rip a card out of your opponent's hand. It's kind of like a better version. It's kind of like Spiritual Water Owie, but it's like a better Dust Shoot, except that you're only looking, if you do it first, like you only get to see 5 cards instead of 6. So that's why Gearfried is in here. Breaker, obviously just being a good summon that you can, you know, clear Bottomless or Deep Prison for your Machinas. You can also pop these cards as well. So you can equip this to your opponent's monster, pop it and banish their monster. And then Cyber Raider is basically the same thing. You mostly use the effect where you can pop an equipped card on the field when you summon this. So you could do the same thing. You can equip this or this, your opponent's monster, pop it. And then it's come up quite a bit that when I drop Dark Armed, so one cool thing about this deck is like, you know, when you drop Dark Armed, you're kind of, if you don't end the turn right there on the spot, you're kind of afraid of your opponent's clapback, like they might have brain control, right? But with this deck, you can drop this priority pop, like say, I don't know, a back rower monster, and if it lives, you can like also pop, or you can do this first too, you can pop Smoke Grenade, look at your opponent's hand, get rid of the 1 card that they need to clap back, and then just Dark Arm is still on the field for next turn. If they can't get over it, then they're probably going to lose the next turn, if not the turn that you drop it. So moving on to the other spells, you have some one-ofs. You have Rhoda, Allure, Limiter. There are a lot of dark targets, so this is just good. Again, this can search Gearfried or Armageddon Knight. Limiter, I think, is actually really good in this deck. You should be able to know the right time to use it because ideally you're seeing your opponent's hand. And this deck does get some chip damage in there with the Gearfried and you know, the Gear Frames. And just being able to turn these 2 cards alone on the field into 8,600 damage is pretty crazy. Being able to activate the damage steps so your opponent can't even like Mirror Force or Deep Prison you is also crazy. You're running so many so many machines in this deck. Even just like equipping Big Bang Shot to your opponent's monster, summoning this, banishing the monster, attacking for this, and turning this into 28 is also kind of crazy. And then Power Tool Dragon is also a machine, so that synergizes with that. And then one cool thing you can do is you can, attack with both of these, limiter removal, and then main phase 2, attach this, or maybe even main phase 1, attach this to the fortress. Limiter removal in the end phase destroys all machines that had their attack doubled, but the gear frame will basically protect the fortress, and the fortress will keep the doubled attack. So this is still 5,000 attack, permanently, unless you like Book of Moon it probably. So that is kind of cool. And then we have some sweepers. We have Heavy Storm, Trunade, and Release Restraint Wave. Heavy Storm, I mean, these are all so good in this deck in particular. And let me explain why you play them. So you'll find that when you're playing this deck, often you're, playing the mid-range game with like the Machinas, but you're kind of building up these spell cards, these equip cards, whether you draw them or whether you search them from Power Tool Dragon. And there will be plays where like you can activate, both of these on an opponent's monster, play Heavy Storm, and then with these 3 cards, you've cleared their back row, you've banished their monster, and you've looked at their hand and ripped a card. So Heavy Storm is just so good in this deck. Trunade is in here because you can bounce the Big Bang Shot back to your hand and still banish their monster. So it's basically turning into a 1-for-1 removal, and then you get to use Big Bang Shot again. And then Release Restraint Wave, if you don't know what it does, it says that you can target an equipped spell card that you control, destroy it, and destroy all of your opponent's set spells and traps. So the same thing, you can activate this on your opponent's monster, or this on your opponent's monster, or your monster, activate Release Restraint Wave, nuke their back row, rip a card from their hand, and now you have a clear board, and you have hand knowledge. So you should be able to win from there. And then moving on to the traps, you have a Mirror, Torrential, Solemn, Dust Shoot, very standard. You have 1 Phoenix Wing Windblast. This is good to pitch, your dead equip cards or the ones that you add off of Power Tool Dragon. It's good to pitch Fortress so you can bring it back with force, and it's obviously good to pitch your salvo targets. This is kind of inspired from Teledad format where it's easy to get 2 darks in the grave, and then you just get the 3rd dark in the grave with this, and then drop your dark armed dragon. So that's kind of why that's there. And also because I'm putting this Plague Spreader in, so that's why I like it. And then the last trap card is 1 Blast with Chain. You don't need to play this, but I mean, it's just such a nostalgic card, and because you're playing, Gearfried, it's just fun to play this card. Basically, this is a trap card that acts as an equip card. It boosts the monster's attack by 500, and when it's destroyed while equipped to a monster, you can destroy any card your opponent controls. So if you attach to Gearfried, it's automatically going to pop this, and you get to destroy a card your opponent controls. Or you can just do some battle tricks. Your opponent tries to attack into your gear frame with, I don't know, a Stratos or something. You activate this. You can activate this in damage step, by the way, because it's modifying attack. Boost this up, and then if this ever gets destroyed, you get to pop a card in your opponent's field. So you can use this with Release Restraint Wave, which is kind of neat. You can also just use it with like Heavy Storm to maybe pop a face down Raikou or something like that. So that's why that is in there. Let's move on to let's move on to the extra deck. Okay, so the most important cards are the level 7s because that's what you're gonna be making with Salvo. You have your double Power Tool Dragon, self-explanatory, Black Rose, Ancient Fairy, Herbellum, and a Psychic Life Transfer. This is cool. You can, stack your opponent's cards back on top of their deck, set them back a turn. Ancient Fairy mostly in here just because of the 3,000 defense. Double Power Tool Dragon, it comes up that you're going to be making 2, 3, probably unnecessary. Psychic Life Transfer, this is just here because it's a 2,400 attack, which is, the highest of the level 7s that isn't, Black Rose Dragon if you don't want to waste it. So it's just nice to have the option. Then you have some 6s, Goyo, Brio, and Gaia Force of the Earth. This is really only in here if you like normal summon your Plague and want to make a 6 that isn't Brio or Goyo. It's just another option. You have a few level 8s, Stardust, Colossal Fighter, Thought Ruler. This doesn't really come up that often until you bring in your Cyber Dragons from the side deck, because you can't really make level 8 too easily. And then you have a Catastor and a Gothams. Catastor being machine, kind of relevant. Gothams is in here just in case you want to use Plague Spreader and Fortress. You know, you make this and then you pitch the forest, reborn your fortress. That's kind of the idea behind this card. But it honestly probably is not going to come up too often. And then moving on to the side deck, you have double Cyber Dragon, very standard for machine deck. Not really too much to be said here. Oh, sorry, actually. There is one card missing from the extra deck, which I just reminded myself about, but that would be a Chimera Tech Dragon to go with the Cyber Dragon. So that would make 15. So double Cyber Dragon, you have a Fossil Dyna and a Kaiku. I've just really grown to like Kaiku mostly in the, what's it called, the Vayu matchup. Necrogardna is just such an annoying card, and being able to remove their Necrogardna without them being able to activate or chain it is a very big deal, and it's obviously just a floodgate for them. It's going to eat a Bottomless, it's going to eat a Deep Prison, and every Bottomless and Deep Prison that you get past is one that isn't going to be used on your Machina cards. So those are the monsters. The rest of the side deck is kind of like teched out a little bit. It's just kind of for fun. You can modify it if you want. But we have some other equipped spell cards. We have a Power Pickaxe, which is basically a once per turn DD Crow. So you can potentially search this and use this. And then you have an autonomous action unit. I don't really think this should be in here, but it's just kind of in there for fun. Maybe there's a matchup that, you know, is beneficial to reborn your opponent's cards. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, it could be Machina, right? Take your opponent's like gear frame and equip it to your guy, or like, I don't know, Christia Sworn, reborn a Christia. Yeah, I don't know. But moving on, you have Lightning Vortex, Mystical Space Typhoon. You have cards you want to pitch, so this is a no-brainer. MST, no-brainer for Oppression. And then two more cool tech cards, Prohibition and De-Designator. The idea behind this is you're going to be able to see your opponent's hand, so you'll be able to just banish another card out of their hand. This is also just good for cards that are searching, right? Prohibition, same idea. You know what your opponent has in their hand, so you should be able to declare what you want. This is also cool because this deck can suffer you know, a lot from Cyber Dragon, obviously because like the Machinas, but also because Power Tool Dragon is a machine. So you can potentially call Cyber Dragon or, you know, Chimera Tech if you want, or just whatever you're afraid of. If you're going for game, you know, you drop dad, maybe you call Gores, something like that. So just a flexible card that is basically as good as the player is, or as good as your knowledge of the opponent's deck is. And then moving on to the traps, you have double Bottomless, just for the matchups where this is exceptionally good. Things like maybe like Black Wings or Gladiator Beasts or Light Sworns. And this is also in there to stop the Cyber Dragons, because again, that could be very problematic. And then two Dust Tornadoes just for back row heavy decks and for Oppression. And then finally a Mind Crush. I've debated putting this in the main, it's just the deck is pretty tight as it is. This is already good against decks that search, things like Dragon Turbo or you know, Hero Beat, or maybe even to some extent, you know, Black Wings, because they search with Black Whirlwind. But this is already borderline playable in the main deck. It just gets even better in this deck since you have the hand knowledge. So yep, that is the deck. Try it out. I'd say it's definitely been performing a lot better than I would have expected. It kind of functions more smoothly than you would think, and there definitely are some, you know, pretty cool, interesting combos that and synergies that you just don't get to see in any other deck in Edison format. Surprisingly, this has come up so often, and it's almost always live. And again, being able to just seal out the game by popping your own smoke grenade and like looking at their hand and ripping, you know, their Caius or their Brain Control or their Miracle Fusion just feels so dirty. It's like when this deck flows, it's like absolutely oppressive, and it's actually so easy to just make, what's it called? Ancient Fairy first turn, right? Like you just special summon Fortress, pitch the Salvo target, normal summon Salvo, bring it back, make your Ancient Fairy Dragon, probably, sorry, not Ancient Fairy, Power Tool Dragon, probably in defense mode, search out Smoke Grenade or Big Bang Shot, whatever you want. And if your opponent can't out this next turn, because like this is pretty difficult to out, then you're gonna go, you've already gone +1, right? Because this has turned into Power Tool. I guess this was -1 to summon, right? But this is essentially +1 on its own after you make Power Tool and search. And then if they don't get rid of it, it's +2. And if they don't get rid of it after turn after that, it just keeps, you know, getting worse and worse for them. So, yeah. Thanks guys for watching. Let me know what you think.